Why do you think that a recession is coming, and just how bad is it going to be?
I think it's going to be pretty bad, and whether it starts in 07 or 08, I think, is immaterial. And I also think it's going to last not just for quarters, but for years. See, the basic problem with the U.S. economy is we have too much consumption and borrowing and not enough production and savings. And what's going to happen is the American consumer is basically going to stop consuming and start rebuilding his savings, especially when he sees his home equity evaporate. And when you have the economy 70% consumption, you can't address those imbalances without a recession. You know, rather than the recession being resisted, it should really be embraced, because the disease is all this debt-financed consumption. The cure is that we stop consuming and start saving and producing again, and that's a recession. And sometimes, you know, medicine tastes bad, but you got to swallow it.
We want prosperity. We have to change our foreign policy. We have to live within our means, but we can't maintain a reserve currency where all our greatest export today are paper dollars. We create money out of thin air, and they still accept it as if it was backed by gold. And that is the reason all this money goes overseas, and at the same time we finance all this military activity overseas. It's bankrupting this country. And not only that, it's a threat to our personal liberties here, and it's going to be a threat to our economy, because we are beginning to live beneath our means. And that is a natural consequence of what happens when you live beyond your means. So we must change our policy both overseas and domestically. Do you believe that?
Well, we need productive jobs. Imagine for a minute if half the country were employed digging ditches and then the other half were employed filling them back up again. Everybody would have a job, but we'd have nothing to show for it because nobody would be making anything. So the only way the economy would grow is if some ditch diggers lost their jobs so they can do something else. We need people that work for government to lose those non-productive jobs so they can have productive jobs. But the reason there are so many people unemployed is because the government is refusing to allow the markets to function. Government creates unemployment. They either do it by putting up barriers that prevent businesses from creating jobs, or they subsidize people to make it more lucrative not to take jobs.
We spent too much, we borrowed too much, and then we started putting pressure on the Fed, and the Fed acts on their own, and they started inflating, that is, creating credit out of thin air. They're the ones who really causes the boom, and they literally bring about the bust. You know, after the Depression ended, after the World War II, the spending went down 2/3 and taxes went down 1/3, and that's when the Depression finally ended in the late 40s.
To allow Americans to save more, in order to do that, they have to spend less, and then the savings can be loaned out to businesses so that we can produce more products and create more jobs. But in order for that to happen, the government needs to shrink. So we need to cut government spending dramatically, reduce government payrolls. Government has to be smaller, because right now government is taking all the resources out of the private sector, preventing the economy from growing, preventing productive jobs from coming into existence.
Priorities. I would cut $400–500 billion from overseas. I don't think it makes any sense to blow up bridges in Iraq and then pay to rebuild them to no-bid contracts where the corporations never rebuild. I say spend all that money back here at home. We could save enough money by just changing our foreign policy, cutting down on our deficit, and still take care of people that we have taught to be so dependent. We spend over $1 trillion a year maintaining an American empire, but nobody wants to give up on the empire. Not even this new administration. They're pursuing the Bush policies in the Middle East, and they're not cutting back. And yesterday